Rich, nutrition is a massive topic, but can we break it down to make it simple for people that want to know what they should do for fueling on a race day?
Yeah, so first of all, like I'm a coach, I'm not a dietitian or a nutritionist, so they're the ones that build you a race plan specific to you, but some general guidelines that we want to think about. First of all, hydration is the first thing that's going to slow you down, so make sure you get that right first. So anything under an hour, hydration is key. Once we start going over an hour, it's an hour and a half, then we need to start thinking about carbohydrates and getting those on board as well, because that's sort of the second thing that's going to start slowing you down. So in terms of that, we want to think about what can I actually stomach? What can I actually take on board? Some of my options, my sports drinks, my gels, my chews, etc. Mm-hmm. As part of that, we want to think about the grams of carbohydrate. There's lots of stuff out there in terms of, it used to be, can I get 60 grams of carbohydrates? Can I get, but now it's about how much can I actually stomach? So think about 60 to 90 grams of carbohydrates as a start.
So carbohydrates is the measure you use rather than calories or kilojoules, anything like that?
Yeah, carbohydrates are key. They're the thing that we can use when we're working at a higher intensity. So we can't use fat as a fuel source at a higher intensity because it takes more oxygen to be able to break it down. So so carbohydrates are the key once we start losing those, that's when we end up having to go a bit slower, sort of thing. So carbohydrates is what we like to talk about. 60 to 90 grams is a bit of a guideline. Have a look at your wrappers, figure out how much is in each of these things, and then do some maths around how much it actually equals. Can you do more than that? Can you do 100, 110, 120 per hour? What you need to think about is, can I actually stomach this? And is this actually sitting all right? So there's a point there that it will just become too much. So interesting to find that out. Generally, what I've found personally is if I've had too much, I just need to drink more water, give it a little bit, 10, 20 minutes, and I'll probably come right again and my stomach's not twirling upside down, and then I go again. So
does that 60 to 90 hold true, or even higher, hold true for even longer races, or do you need to dial it back if you're getting into, a whole day out there or even longer?
I think there's a point there that we need some proper actual food, and we need some savoury and what actually tastes good to us as well. So again, it's a real personal preference, and you've got to test it and trial your food that you actually can take on board. So I'd say that you need to make sure that you're getting some on board. How much is a personal preference. The other things to think about in terms of nutrition is heat. And humidity is key. That's going to change how many your carbohydrate intake and also your fluid intake that you can get on board. So you've got to test that. A good way to test that hydration status is actually standing on some scales before and afterwards, taking into account what you've eaten or drunk during, and you should ideally weigh the same. But if you don't, you need to think about the fluid that you're taking on board to offset that, because the main reason why that you're lighter is because you're dehydrated. So that's really important.
And a risk, just on that topic of risk, is that you weigh heavier when you weigh yourself. Do you want to talk a little bit about that hypernatremia risk?
Yeah. So hypernatremia is basically I don't have enough salt in my body, and that gets out of balance. And as a result of that, it can be really dangerous in terms of your hydration and making sure that you've got enough salts on board. That's the key bit. And that's why sports drinks are made with salt in them. So that's another thing. And there's a whole nother topic around salt intake and hydration and carbohydrate intake. So getting those numbers sorted, practicing with them, and making sure that you're ready to go for race day.
So if you're an athlete who doesn't have that much experience and you're wondering how to work all of this out, what would your advice be? To talk to a nutritionist, or do you think they can work this out on their own?
I think it's great to, you can Google lots of stuff, but having someone that you can talk to is really important. So then they can give you different options, and well, this didn't work, try this instead, and making sure that it's right for you and your environment and your event and the challenges of your event, whether it's how long you're going, but also the intensity that you're going to be running with as well. And that's the things that you don't get so easily from the internet. You can actually, by talking to someone, they can figure out that better for you as well.
Yeah, right. That's a key point.
Yep.
And the other one, I guess, is to make sure you're not trying something new on race day, which I've heard a few people say.
Yeah, there's that one goes around a lot, which is really good. And I think the key piece, it's fueling and it's hydration, but it's also making sure the other key piece with sport nutrition is making sure you don't have a stomach upset. So I can actually keep going and focusing on how hard I'm going and where I'm going and the how I'm doing it, opposed to, oh God, I don't feel very well, I'm going to throw up again, or go number twos again, sort of thing. So all that stuff is part of your nutrition and getting that right.
Yeah, so you want things going into you, not out of you.
Yes, ideally to fuel you, to help you go forward rather than struggling along.
Yeah, it's a good mantra to live by.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
Bye.